Okay, so the next slide, reducing language issues. We talked last lesson a lot about the issues, all the hurdles, language hurdles that our students have to jump. So how do we help them? First of all, speak slowly and clearly. Try to slow down. If you think you're speaking slowly enough, it's probably not slowly enough. Speak even more slowly. And I think even your American students will appreciate this, because very often we move much faster than the people who are listening can follow. Secondly, avoid slang and idioms. So try to use simpler words. Try to use more obvious words. Now, if you have slang or idioms that are really important for your students to know, you can define them, but don't forget to define them. Just always be aware of what you're saying and whether the meaning is obvious. And if the meaning is not obvious to an English language learner, pause and define it. If you use phrasal verbs, be aware of that. Be aware that saying the word sign up, that might need to be defined for our brand new student. You could say, instead of sign up, say register. Instead of talk up, oh, you guys need to talk up the basketball team. They're doing great. Tell everybody to come. Well, your international students might wonder what talk up is. Does that mean you're talking into the sky? I mean, they may have never heard that before. But you could say good things about instead of talk up. Say good things about the basketball team. That makes a lot more sense. It's a lot clearer. Speak up instead of speak up. Again, the student might think that means talking into the sky. Tell them louder, please. Louder, okay? So really be aware of how you're speaking and how clear your meaning is, or how fuzzy your meaning is. Obviously, we have to define new words very frequently for our international. So if you're defining new words, try to do it in a dynamic way. Don't just tell them to pull out their translator or their electronic dictionary, but try to use visual aids. I always use Google Images. And go to Google Images, type in a word, and you get all kinds of images of that word. Often it's better to think ahead to make sure that none of the images that come up are ones that you don't want to have in your classroom. Occasionally that happens, although usually there's no problem because the internet system is set up to filter those things out here. But in addition to Google Images, you can also use visual aids like your whiteboard and your marker. So I was just asked even today by a student, what does serpent mean? Okay. Now this student might know what a snake is, but they would also know what this is, right? Probably. Not the greatest drawing, but I would say serpent. So I draw a picture of a snake. Okay? You're giving them a picture to lock in their mind rather than just saying, oh, serpent's a snake. You know, they might not remember that, but they usually would remember a picture more easily. Also a sound, like with the serpent, I would draw it and say serpent. I would also use sound to give an idea of a meaning of something. So, for instance, I taught the word whip. Then the verb whip, and they said, what is whip? I said, whoosh. Well, for weeks after that, I had one student who every time he saw me, he would say, whoosh. He thought that was the most hilarious thing ever, and he immediately knew what whip was, okay? And that sound helped stick it in his memory. You can also actively demonstrate a word. So you can demonstrate something like run, right? Or go out. You can go out the door. Come in. Those are all simple ones, right? What if you have a complex idea like sacrifice? In Bible class I teach, what does it mean to sacrifice? Well, find an animal. This is what I did. And I had my pretend knife and I said, Well, that's kind of a whip sound, I guess. I guess this is more of like that. So this is my sacrifice, right? And I put him out and I said, we kill him and give him to God in exchange because we did bad things, right? So it's the simplest definition of sacrifice. Okay, so you can use things to demonstrate. Always be thinking of creative ways to define new vocabulary. The most important question not to ask an English language learner is this one. This is the most useless question in the world for international students because there are only two answers to this question, yes or no. And I can guarantee you that your students will, 90% of your students will always say yes, okay? There might be a small group of students who will come out of their box and say no. But at the beginning, especially at the beginning of the year when they're still getting used to you and learning the educational culture here, they will say yes because that's how they try to please you. It's not the real answer. It doesn't tell you whether they understand or not. So how do you get past that? You don't ask, do you understand? Instead, you think about specific questions that will show you that they understand. So for example, if you are teaching the word challenging, I don't say, tell them the definition of challenging, and then say, do you understand? I say, okay, so if something is challenging, is it easy or hard? Okay, so the students have to choose. And I know if they say easy, that they don't get it yet. But if they say hard, they have some sense of the ballpark of the meaning. Teaching the noun beverage. I might say to one particular student, what's your favorite beverage? Tell me your favorite beverage. Ask different ones. Coke, coffee, milk, okay? That gives me a grasp that they have the grasp, okay? What about the verb chop? I might ask them, show me, give me a demonstration of chopping wood. What does it look like to chop wood? And wait for your student to do it, okay? And probably, if they can't do it, their neighbor will go like this, right? That shows you they know what it means. Satellite. I could ask, where would I find a satellite? Would I find a satellite in your house? Would I find a satellite in the ocean? Where would I find a satellite? And if no one can tell me that I find one in the sky or in outer space, then I know I got to start over. They might tell me, oh, on the roof of my house, that's a satellite. Well, they have partial understanding, and so you can explain further that that's just the dish, and the actual satellite is up in the sky. So really, you have to think about the questions that you ask and make sure that they're not questions where they can just give a yes answer that doesn't really tell you whether they understand or grasp the concept. Assignment 5B is your next assignment. I want you to pick 5 words that you teach in your classroom, which are challenging, and explain how you would define them dynamically, whether you use graphics or Google Images or a drawing on the board or a demonstration or a sound effect. And also write a concept checking question, like the ones I asked, that you can ask your students that will show you if they understand it or not.